You know that feeling, right? That bolt of lightning when you get a brilliant idea to solve a problem for your community. It's exciting, it's motivating, and you just want to dive right in and start building. But what if I told you that very instinct is actually a hidden trap? So let me just ask you this. What if that amazing solution you're so passionate about is actually the problem itself? What if it's the very thing that's going to cause your project to fail? I know, it's a tough question, but it's an absolutely crucial one. See, this all leads us to a really common psychological pitfall. It's called the answer first trap. And honestly, it's where so many well-meaning projects go completely off the rails before they even really get started. Now, the technical term for this whole thing is solutioneering. It's basically when you fall in love with your answer before you've even properly dug into the question. And it's usually driven by your own expertise, your own passions, which, sounds like a good thing, but it creates this massive, massive blind spot. And make no mistake, this is not a small issue. Solutioneering can totally torpedo a project. I don't care how well designed it is or how much money you throw at it. It's like a silent project killer. So, how can you spot this in your own work? How do you know if you're falling for it? Well, let's diagnose it. There are 3 classic symptoms that show up when your good intentions might be leading you down the completely wrong path. Okay, the first big red flag is what some people call the hammer and nail problem. It starts with a thought process that sounds exactly like this. You basically start seeing every problem through the lens of your one specific skill. You know that old saying, right? If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, that's the flawed logic right there. My skill must be the community's solution. But the reality is often way more complicated. Maybe the real problem isn't a lack of skills, but something more fundamental, like no transportation to get to a job. The result? You build this perfect, shiny solution that just sits there, completely unused, an orphan project. All right, now for the second warning sign. And this one's a little more subtle. It's when you go out to consult the community, but you're not actually listening. You're just looking for people to agree with you. Just look at the difference here. Seeking validation, that's the trap. You ask something like, "Don't you think a soccer league would be great?" You're just pushing your idea. But real consultation is totally different. You ask an open-ended question like, "What are the biggest barriers your children face?" One is about you, the other is about them. And here's the crucial thing to understand. When you ask a leading question, you're not getting real data. You're not uncovering a genuine need. Nope. You're just capturing politeness. People are nice. They'll often agree with you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But that's a dangerous illusion of buy-in. And that brings us to the third, and maybe the deepest symptom of them all, the shadow need. This is when the project unconsciously is designed to meet the founder's own psychological needs. The need to feel useful, the need to feel like a hero, or maybe just the need to show off how smart you are. And the outcome here is almost always the same. The project isn't really owned by the community. It's a stage for the founder. It becomes a vanity project. And the second that founder leaves, the whole thing just collapses because it was never actually built to survive without them. Okay, so that's the diagnosis. I know, it sounds a bit bleak, doesn't it? But don't worry, there is a prescription. There's a proven framework out there to avoid this entire trap, and it's called the double diamond. Now, this framework is incredibly powerful because of its structure. You start by going really wide. That's the discover phase. You're just exploring everything. Then you narrow down to define the actual core problem based on what you found. Only then do you go wide again to develop a bunch of different potential solutions. And finally, you narrow it all down one last time to deliver the one that's been tested and truly works. And that's the real magic of the double diamond. It's a simple but profound discipline. It literally forces you to stay in the problem space first. You have to understand the problem inside and out before you're even allowed to think about the solution space. Let's make this super concrete. Imagine the problem you see is a high mortality rate. The solutioneering brain jumps right to, we need a bigger clinic. But using the double diamond, you'd first discover. You'd go talk to people, and you'd find out the clinic is often empty. Then you'd define the real problem. It isn't the clinic. It's that the roads are so bad people can't get there. So the problem was never medicine, it was transport. That's a total game changer. So, how do you know if you've really taken this all to heart? How do you know if you're truly ready to serve a community? Well, here it is. This is the ultimate litmus test. Ask yourself this question, and be brutally honest.
Imagine you do all the research, and your brilliant idea, your baby, turns out to be number 10 on the community's list of priorities. And their number one need is something totally different, like a community garden. Would you pivot? Would you drop your idea and build the garden?
Your answer to that question tells you everything. If your answer is no, it means you're in love with your solution. You're serving your own vision. But if your answer is a clear yes, that's different. That means you're in love with the community. You're there to serve their reality. And that really brings us to the core of this whole thing. Real, sustainable, meaningful impact. It isn't born from having a brilliant solution. It's born from a deep, obsessive, and humble love for the problem itself. So I'll leave you with this final thought to carry with you. The next time you set out to help, just take a moment and ask yourself that one critical question. Are you serving your vision or are you serving their reality?